Web Summit brings together the global community of founders, business leaders, and investors onto one platform to connect and exchange ideas that could shape the future of technology. To understand what's in store for the upcoming Web Summit Qatar 2025, Gautam Srinivasan spoke to Adam Connon of Web Summit.
Today, in fact, we are gathered here to talk about the power of connections. As an anthropologist once said, all knowledge is connected, the fun is making those connections. So who better to talk about the power of connections than the man who's spearheading the global expansion of Web Summit Qatar. And of course, he is the general manager for Web Summit Qatar and general counsel for Web Summit, one of the largest technology event series in the world and the largest gathering of entrepreneurs in the world. So we've got lots of lessons to learn from you, Adam.
I hope so, but I'm learning a lot here, so
fantastic,
it's mutual.
Fantastic. Let's start with what is the Web Summit all about? Take us through its purpose and vision.
So as you said, connections are key, particularly in our sector. And I think Web Summit Qatar is part of a global event series that started off originally in Dublin in Ireland and then grew to scale to about 70,000 person event in Lisbon in Portugal. And then since then, we've expanded the series to Brazil, to Canada, and now our latest venture is in Qatar, in Doha.
That's next year, isn't it?
That's right, yeah. So the next event is going to take place in February 2025. We just off a very successful 2024 event.
All right, so mark your calendars for February next year for Web Summit Qatar. All right, let's look at the value proposition that these events have, because at the end of the day, your goal is to bring together people and companies. But if we just have to understand who generally takes part in these summit, are they the nerds, are they the geeks? What's the composition like?
Sure. Well, as a proud geek myself, I'm very, I'll certainly be there. But absolutely, I think it is a very broad church.
All right.
We have, sports stars, footballers, cricketers. But we do have the future of technology and the people that are making the changes that will impact the world. So I think it's something that anyone can get value from. But certainly, our focus is startup founders who are the heart of our event, the investor community. Fortune 500 companies and global partners like Meta, TikTok, Snap, all of the very large technology corporates.
All right.
And they all come together in one place and they get to make meaningful connections.
So it's the home of big ideas. The next $1 billion idea could come out from a conversation that you have with someone you meet at Web Summit.
That's right, yeah. And one of the talks that we recently had in Web Summit Qatar, actually relevant to India, was India, 1 billion people, 1 billion ideas. And I thought that was a very good reflection of what I'm experiencing since I've been in Delhi.
All right, and let me ask you this question on why people fly from around the world for these kind of events. I mean, sure, there's the draw of celebrities. There's the draw of the venture capitalists. I mean, there are celebrities among that community as well. There's celebrities among the startup founders as well. But when you have to look at your value proposition as something which is so appealing that it becomes a Big Ten proposition for folks from all around the world and not just particular geographies, what would you say is the key value proposition? What do you offer in terms of, say, innovation for entrepreneurs?
Sure. I think our key proposition is time. In today's world, particularly in the technology industry, I think a lot of the sector are working remote. It might actually be an exception they're coming into the office. It's certainly even more of an exception they're meeting clients in person. So where better to meet everybody, like-minded people from the technology community in one place, and that's what we do really, really well. So we're aiming to have 25,000 people in February in Qatar. So we can basically assure people that they're going to make a useful customer, a future hire, or certainly add value with conversations they'll have on the exhibition floor.
That brings me to my next question. Why did you choose Qatar for your first event in the Middle East? What was the reason there?
So we were noticing a trend from our event in Portugal, which has been going since 2016 in Lisbon, that we were getting a growing audience coming from the Middle East and certainly wider Asia as well. So we thought it was a good opportunity to explore the region, and we were very impressed by how Qatar hosted a very successful World Cup.
All right.
I think there is a ecosystem transformation going on there, very innovative economy, and some really exciting startups. And that was probably the mix of factors that meant that we were confident we could hold a very successful event there. And I think that we were able to do that in the first year.
And how are you going to make sure that Web Summit Qatar is going to be different compared to other events around the world? Because that's also going to be a key part as to what do you bring to the table in terms of innovation. Just the experience, right? There's the retailization of experience across all sectors, so why not events as well? So how is Web Summit Qatar going to be different from other events around the world?
So I think what we do, we are a 350-person independent company. We're focused on delivering the world's best events. We just do technology events. We have an in-house team of 80+ engineers that develop all of the technology and software that makes your experience at Web Summit the most useful and most likely to make the connections that you need to connect. So I think we offer a great brand proposition in terms of a recognized name that people have come to for years and made successful connections and experiences. And I think that's the core of what we do.
All right, and we are in a room full of entrepreneurs who are building technologies that are going to transform the world. So to them, what would you like to say as to why they should come to Web Summit Qatar?
I think what I've experienced since my time in India is I've been amazed. I mean, everyone knows that it's the world's most populous country, depending on
more than that.
Exactly. But I come from Ireland. It's a small country of 4.5 million people. There's 4.5 million people in the technology sector in India. That's an amazing opportunity for the global tech community. And I think the innovation, we were discussing earlier about the innovation in fintech, which I can see from the universal payment systems that is the most innovative I've seen anywhere in the world. So I think when you combine the pace of innovation in India, and we see Qatar as a gateway to the West, and geographically it's very convenient, 3.5 hours to Doha from the major cities in India. I think it's an enticement. But broadly, 118 unicorns in India was an amazing statistic I didn't understand before I came here. And just the history of technological innovation in India, it's fascinating. So we certainly hope that we can showcase that as well to the world via Web Summit Qatar.
And it's not just unicorns, it's decacons, and they're looking to take over the world. Especially what impresses me about the Indian revolution, startup revolution, is how broad-based it is and how focused on outcomes it is in terms of addressing challenges that people face, not just in tier 1 cities, but tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 areas. And we are seeing all these brands becoming so much bigger with a purpose. Now, talking about expansion, rapid expansion, as these startups have done, so has Web Summit. It has expanded so quickly in such a short span of time. So take us through the challenges that you yourselves went through. We asked this question to every startup founder, so we thought we'll ask you this question as well. As to, considering you are championing this expansion, what are some of the challenges, especially when you look at scaling up so quickly?
I think event operations, and we're partly a technology company as well, and that helps us solve some of the challenges. But going into a new market, you need to keep a fresh perspective, and you need to not assume anything, and you need to listen to your audience. And as we've scaled in new markets that we don't know anything about. Our head office is in Ireland. We don't do an event in Ireland. We have to go, and we know how to deliver world-class events, but we don't necessarily know everything about Qatar. So we have to go in and listen to the audience and to the community and reflect that in the event delivery. So I think that's a key challenge as we've scaled, is making sure our ears are open.
All right, and can you expand on the fact that you said that you also work on the technology aspect of these events? Can you expand on how it makes the event more richer, the technology focus?
Absolutely. So the technology in your pocket at the event, your phone is your ticket, but it's also your networking app. And I think what our app does is it's everyone that's on that and everyone's going to contact you has come to the trouble to come to our event. You know, they've clearly showed a lot of initiative. So I think any connection that you're making on the app and any message you're receiving, that person is going to be relevant, maybe not to you, but certainly to somebody else in the audience that attends our event. So the app has partly AI and a recommender system that looks at the data points, and it It looks at what you're trying to achieve by attending our event, and it recommends people that you might want to know or how we think you should know. So one of the most interesting innovations that we've made this year is understanding it is a big event. We'll have 25,000 people in Qatar. We'll have 70,000 people at our next event in Lisbon next month. So that could be a little bit overwhelming. It could be hard to make connections. So what we're experimenting with is a community meetup where I'm looking at Gautam, and I'm looking at your objectives, your inputs on the app, and I'm saying, you come here to this part of the exhibition hall, I'm going to get you to meet like-minded people. So we've been trialing this. You know, it could be a CTO from AI space, or it could be a Uruguayan who's interested in fintech, and we will channel them to the right place, and hopefully they'll get a really effective experience. So we're trying to, engineer, connections. We're, engineering serendipity.
Wow, so that's leveraging technology to make sure connections are more contextualized and more robust and seem more tailored to the person attending the event. Fantastic. Now, looking at the impact on tech ecosystems that your event is having, can you outline how you're kind of transforming local tech ecosystems with these events in Lisbon, in Qatar, and other areas?
Yeah, I think when we look to host an event, and we've got some very strong country and city partners that work with us, and there's usually, if it's a catalyst to bring Web Summit to a city, I think that catalyst is also a driver for innovation in the ecosystem. So if I look at the success of Lisbon since we've come in since 2016, and you're right, it's not just all about unicorns, about decacorns, but it's also, is unicorn a good judge? Because it's a valuation at a point in time. But we don't have a better description or category at the moment, so I'm going to use it. So if you look at the number of unicorns in Portugal since we've come in 2016, it outpaces Italy, Greece, and Spain. And startup kind of activity is above the European Union average by about 30%. So we certainly absolutely don't take credit for all of that. But I think like-minded people are helping to develop the ecosystem, and we want to channel and amplify. So we're an amplifier of success.